Hello, my name's Mark Preston. My student number is W0085399 and this is my YouTube presentation for assignment 2 of my third semester of study, EDC 1200, titled Self-Education and Society. This presentation will be focused on the historical event of when Miss Julia Gillard was sworn in as the 27th Prime Minister and the first female Prime Minister of Australia. Miss Julia Gillard was sworn in on the 24th of June 2010. This showed for the first time in history that women's legitimised identity had been respected in the public forum. Recently, it has been argued by many a misogynistic male that it is not acceptable to have a country run by a female. During Miss Gillard's election campaign, online media release revealed what it deemed to be the inappropriate nature of a de facto relationship with her long-term partner, Tim Matheson. It was believed that Miss Julia Gillard's relationship status portrayed her as a negative role model to the young females of Australia, highlighting the traditional hegemonic society ideals regarding de facto relationships for public figures. This was only one of the 5 reasons Australians did not want Miss Julia Gillard elected. Another of the 5 reasons Miss Australia did not want Miss Gillard elected was her lack of maternal experience. Society still considers a female who has failed to reproduce or rear a child as unsuccessful. Considering all of the above factors, Miss Julia Gillard was still elected as Prime Minister in June 2010 over all other prospective candidates, male or female. Our traditional patriarchal society has been challenged over the last half-decade by feminists, and this newly elected female Prime Minister raises the question: is the gap between male and female becoming nothing more than a physical difference as our generations progress? Has the legitimised modern female identity now shifted, reducing the gap and the impact of gender assumptions in today's hegemonic society? Before the transformation of women's legitimised identity, they were considered to be carers of their home, raisers of their children, nurturers of those children, carers of their husbands in old age, and sex objects. This brings us to the event as curriculum part B of assignment 2 for EDC 1200. The focus will be on the historic, traditional context of the shift of the female's identity over the years. This particular social event, the political victory of Australia's first female Prime Minister, being the main focus. As part of the curriculum, emphasis will focus upon the success of feminists in the liberating of women from the social constraints in the majority society, drawing a comparison from the extreme radical feminist movements from the 60s and the more diplomatic liberal feminists of the 70s, 80s and 90s leading up to today. Feminists of the bygone eras have been fighting a patriarchal society that deemed females labelled the others for decades, males as the primary authoritarian figure and the family figurehead, totally dependent on the female's subordination through their lifetime of marriage. Feminists fought to be considered as equal to their male counterparts, both in the formal societal context and the home, as women and mothers, while still being considered attractive. During the activity, many sides of the social event of Miss Gillard being sworn as Prime Minister will be examined. For example, Miss Julia Gillard may be Australia's first female Prime Minister, but for the previous 3 years we have been answering to Miss Quinton Bryce. Miss Quinton Bryce was the first female Governor-General for 107 years and assigned the role of the 27th Governor-General by Mr Kevin Rudd shortly after his election win in 2007. Not only these 2 females seen by our perceived community of shared culture, but also Queensland and New South Wales Premiers are both female, Anna Bligh and Christina Keneally. The content of this sociology-based activity follows a strong emphasis on the axis of whether Miss Julia Gillard is a positive or negative role model to our youth of today. She is only the first that has not fallen under the traditional hegemonic society's ideal for the females. The content of educative experience for the children will consist of class discussion and collaborative classroom group work. The classroom will be divided up into two halves and prompted to brainstorm and research their particular perspective of these events and how it is influencing females' legitimised identity in a positive or negative way. They will present their brainstormed and research points to each other in a debate-style lesson where personal and groups' beliefs will be challenged. To synthesize what was learned and gained from the exercise, the children will undergo the synthesis stage of the lesson by completing a short article on what they truly believe based on the discussion, research and debate undergone during the time spent on the topic. Whether it is a positive or negative that the first female Prime Minister is not what will be considered a traditional female role model, and how that may affect the female's legitimised identity in the modern hegemonic society. This will conclude the lesson with a confirmed opinion of modern historic context and progress of the public's perspective of the female identity and how it has changed over the decades. I truly feel that through proper teaching and educating in schools, the gap between male and female can be specified and legitimised based on these kinds of tasks. Thank you for listening to my presentation, and I hope it has been very informative.